Warning: the following video contains opinions and language that are unique. If you are offended by any of the contents in this video, I would like to apologize now. Please watch all videos within this series before making a final decision on whether or not you agree or to what extent you disagree. Please make sure that you watch the very last video within this series. I feel it will and does give you a better and more complete picture. I look forward to comments and the ability to discuss this topic and all opinions. Thank you for watching.
Warning: if you are currently performing dermaplaning and or to a lesser degree microdermabrasion, I suggest that you do not watch these videos. There are opinions, there is an opinion and language and a direction that you may not find professional, you may not find it enlightening, you may not like what I have to say, and you will more than likely disagree with what I'm about to say in all of these videos, and I will name them parts, and then I will finalize with an ending video. I was asked by an owner of a salon with regards to dermaplaning, and the following video and or part of a series of videos that I'll be doing on this subject is the answer to her question. When I'm asked by a professional, I'm going to give my honest answer. I don't care about the skincare industry. I don't care about the cosmetic industry. What I care about is the massive amount of misinformation that plagues the internet, that plagues retail clients, and to a lesser degree plagues some of the professionals that I've had the pleasure of coming into contact with, but the displeasure of not being able to debate and communicate with them to enlighten not only them, but to enlighten myself as well by learning about who they are, where their experience comes from, and how they run their professional lives. With that being said, again, I'm warning you that the tone, language, and direction and opinion of the following videos as it relates to dermaplaning are those of mine. And what I would like you to know is at the end of the last video, I will tell you honestly about dermaplaning, but I'm not going to give you any of that information now. I want you to watch all the parts, if you so choose to do so, until the very end, so that I can give you my honest opinion as it relates to the procedure and related aspects of it. So let's get started. In many of my videos, I tend to try to slow things down and not talk so fast. That's why, you might hear a lot of different sounds coming out in between, and I don't think you're going to hear much of that as these videos in this 2 or 3 or 4, I don't know how many parts it's going to be. So a lot of the pauses and things like that, I'm not going to try to do. So I'm just going to go through this as I would if I had interaction. As I've said, doing things in front of a video, you don't get that feedback. So it's very difficult, believe it or not, to educate in this format. But I love doing it, a lot of passion. I hope you enjoy it. So let's get started. And if I go too fast, like I'm trying to be slow right now, so let's speed that up a little bit. If I go too fast, make a comment, let me know. I'll do my best, but chances are I'm going to lose a lot of my viewers, in the first couple of minutes, and hopefully I'll come back to it and be able to reiterate some of the lessons or some of the things that I'm talking about, and it'll come full circle. So if you get lost, leave a comment, or let me know specifically. Like I always say, I'll do a video on it, or just wait and hopefully I'll come back to it. Definition of dermaplaning. Dermaplaning is by definition a procedure whereby an individual uses mechanical pressure or personal pressure and a knife to slide across the top of the skin and create a mechanical or induced exfoliation to renew the skin. And I disagree with it 100%. I would never perform it, and it's not something that I agree with within the skincare industry. I want to remind you, at the end of this part, I will tell you where it has a place, but I must hit this home in the beginning to get you excited, to get you to watch the video, to get you to pay attention to it. When you are dermaplaning, you are really messing up your client's skin. Period, end of story. On a scale of 1 to 10, meaning 10 being a procedure that you should never perform, is about 11, I would say. And I need to show you how thick the stratum corneum is, and I need to give you a physical mind's eye, bird's eye, mind's eye view, not bird's eye, mind's eye view of exactly how thick the stratum corneum is. I need you to be able to say, yes, I know how thick it is. And I have a reference point to give me personal experience, comparing what I know is the reference point and how thick the stratum corneum is, and I'm clear. So let's go ahead and give you that knowledge right now. The unit of measurement that we're going to use as it relates to the stratum corneum or the epidermis and the dermis is called a micron. is its abbreviation, 1 micron. To give you a visual, 1,000 microns fit inside of 1 millimeter. Do not take these measurements, do not take every figure here as gospel. Do not take this as fact. There are very information, you're going to see variables. I don't care about the variables. What I care about is I'm able to represent point A to point B to point C. And what is that? Point A is what you think, point B is reality, point C is how it relates to the skin. And I can do that with all these numbers. Oftentimes students will come up to me, or students will say, I'll get emails or phone conversations where someone will tell me I'm wrong because of this. It's not a 50, or it's not 100, or it's not 0.5. I found information. I don't care. Keep it to yourself. The reason I change the tone and the reason I say that is because there is no grandstanding here. I'm not about perfection. I'm about being in the game, being in the ballpark as it relates to the goals of my client and whether or not I'm performing a procedure that is keeping them from their goals or helping them achieve those goals. So let's talk about the corneocyte. The distance across the corneocyte is 40 microns across. Okay, looking at the top of the skin this way, 40 microns. The thinness is 1/2 of a micron. The representation of what we're going to look at, comparing micron to micron in two separate things, is the corneocyte to the human hair. If you have ever seen someone or a company talk about the human hair, then you've seen a picture that looks like this. And I'm going to draw it right here. And you saw, how is it going to be? Like this? Is it going to be like that? Yeah, upside down, like that. So you've seen the building blocks of the shaft of a human hair. And the first time you saw that, I know you're thinking, oh yeah, I saw that. That was very cool to see. Exactly. It's like seeing an ant under a microscope 1,000 times larger than you would with the human eye. It's a very cool experience. Same thing with the human hair. Same thing with the skin. Now we need to relate the two so you can grasp just how thin things are. Being that the human hair, meaning from Fitzpatrick 1 to Fitzpatrick 6, has a variable, 50 to 100 microns, depending on the ethnicity, Fitz 1 through 6, so on and so forth. Again, I don't care about being accurate. I don't. I know 100 is accurate to the point of this conversation, and I know that I can relate the human hair and the corneocyte and C, remember C is skincare goals, with 100. Makes numbers simple, makes numbers easy, okay? So 0.5 is a half a micron. That line represents visually so you can see it, 1/2 of a micron. The line to the right of it, I doubled it at 1 micron. 50 microns to the right and furthest to the right is 100 microns. What I've done now is I've given you a visual representation blown up by 100 times what a half a micron is, what 1 micron is, what 50 micron is, and what 100 microns is. If a human hair is 50 to 100 microns, that gives you an idea of what we're looking at. And what that is that's the diameter. That's across, just like this, 50 to 100. Okay? But remember, we're not looking at skin cells this way. We're looking at them flat, that way, because that's depth stacked on top of each other, correct? The stratum corneum is on average 15 microns thick. That's 30 corneocytes. You will get varying degrees, varying information as it relates to the true thickness of the stratum corneum throughout the body. But again, I know that that's correct for the face. As it relates to the upper lip, the under the eye, forehead, chin, I don't care. We have to assume that for the purposes of this discussion, that is accurate and that gives us an average overall. The epidermis is 100. It is 100. The dermis is 1,000 to 2,000. Later on in other videos, I will go over exactly why it's this way and how it relates to the function and performance of the skin and why nature engineered it that way. If you are already seeing a problem with regards to dermaplaning, it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Now that we've discussed this, you now have a clear idea of the true thickness and a visual representation. If you need more information on how thick a human hair is, if you have long hair, grab your ponytail and or talk to your friend next to you in an educational setting and ask them if they're happy with the thickness of their ponytail. If you are, you're on the higher end of the scale. If you aren't, you're on the lower end of the scale. If it's Patrick 5 or 6 and you have coarse hair, obviously you know the deal there. It's going to be much coarser, much thicker. That's the way nature intended it. That's the way that it goes. So what I'm going to do is, now that we've talked about this, I'm going to go ahead and erase this, come back, and there'll be something else written or designed on the lightboard so that I can bring this into dermaplaning.